And away we go. So, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone, wherever you happen to be in the world today. Welcome, one and all, to Coffee Talk. It is time once again for Coffee Talk Live, where we will be having some discussion about what's going on in the world today. We'll take a look at some clips from the news and share a little bit of dialogue with those of you who are able to join us for the live portion. And if you are listening somewhere else and you wanted to join the live portion, you can find us Monday through Friday at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on YouTube on Coffee Talk. And that is at Coffee Talk Live. And I'll put that up on the screen for those of you who are watching. Because remember, if you are watching this on Prepper University, in the first week of June, I will cease to podcast to Prepper University and exclusively will have the podcast on Coffee Talk Live on YouTube, because Prepper University is going to be rededicated back to its original function. So if you are watching on Prepper University, please also subscribe to Coffee Talk, and that's at Coffee Talk Live, so that you won't miss it. Hopefully some of you are doing that, because I'm still getting the majority of my views on Prepper University. But what are you going to do? What are you going to do? I can also be found on X at Coffee Talk Chat, as well as fistfulofradio.com, podcasting out of Atlanta. And I'm usually on at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Hello, everybody. I'll go ahead and say hello to some of the people that have chimed in on the live portion. See, Helter is with us today. Dragon, Jeff, Monkey, and Sven have chosen to say hello. If you are not able to say hi, that's okay. I know some people are just listening. Hello anyways. And hello to everyone else who will watch after the fact, because I know the majority of views come in after the live stream's over. And that's just how it is. Bet you didn't think you'd see me today, did you? Yesterday, it was only like 30 minutes. It's only 30 minutes. And that's because the internet crashed. The internet got cut off, and so I was not able to get back on. But I was talking about Carmelo Anthony at that time. You know, he didn't do nothing. But and it's just interesting timing for that. Monkey wants to know if we saw federal courts ruled that Trump's tariffs are unlawful, and how long will that last? Because federal courts all over the place have ruled that everything he's done is unlawful, and then it gets turned over within a day or two because they don't have the authority to make that decision. Tariffs are purely the domain of the federal government. So a federal judge can sit there and say, that's unlawful, and so what? And suck it. Basically, like everything else that they've said he can't do, because yes, he can. He wouldn't try it if he didn't know he had the legal standing to do it. Jane has joined us, as well as Caps. But yeah, those federal judges are wearing me out. It's getting almost comical with the federal judges ordering Trump can't do this, and the deportations are illegal, and ICE is illegal, and this is illegal, and that is illegal, and it isn't. But neither, again, do they have the authority to make that type of ruling in the first place. It makes you wonder what the hell it is federal judges even actually do. What do they do? What is their function besides to politically red flag things and check boxes? I wonder. I freaking wonder. Oh, before we get into the news story, I wanted to share this. Monkey says if the Supreme Court says that ruling, it's usually set and final. Yeah, the Supreme Court's different. But again, I don't. If you're telling me the Supreme Court says that the tariffs are unlawful, I would really seriously question that, because the Supreme Court, again, that's the domain of the federal government, and the Supreme Court should rule that it is lawful, because, like I said, that's something that the federal government is responsible for, is tariffs. This is a message I got from my wife, and I just wanted to talk about this real quick because it ties into a lot of things that come up. I don't know if I can show that. It's a message that she sent me, and I'm going to read it. She's teaching a class today, okay? And it says, I'm assisting with a training class today. We have two young guys that did not know how to fill out an envelope. I showed the one guy and he got it. He figured it out. I had the other guy do it over and showed him. He still couldn't do it, so I had to fill it out for him. Is one of the things in this class that she's doing. They've got to fill out an envelope. Something has to be mailed. It's part for one of their benefits. It's being done in the training class. Okay, and what she's telling me here, and I asked her to clarify. Two of the trainees, and I asked her their ages, 20 and 23. Two of the trainees in this class do not know how to fill out an envelope. You put your return address, you put the main address, you put a stamp on it. They didn't understand that. And she had to walk them through, and one of them still wasn't getting it. She ended up doing it for them, a 20 and a 23-year-old. And it ties in with a lot of what we've been discussing when it comes to these young people. A lot of these young people getting zero skills in the workforce, zero skills or any type of life readiness in the school system. I remember in first grade having to do envelopes. It was part of the workbook for handwriting as a dual purpose for handwriting practice. On the pages was envelopes. Sometimes it was checks, and you would have to correctly fill out as a writing exercise the envelope and then or checks or whatever else they had. That was first grade. So these two guys got all the way through public school and never learned how to address an envelope. Monkey says the articles say federal court, so no Supreme Court. I was trying to say if the Supreme Court were to step in and say it's unlawful, then it would be a whole different story. Correct. And Raccoon has joined us. Glad you could make it today. But that just surprises me that you've got people that are that young. Well, they're not even that young. They're young men now. A 20 and a 23-year-old got all the way through public school, never learned how to address an envelope. Where are the life skills? Where are the normal things in life that the average person might have to do? And this is reminiscent of when I worked for juvenile justice and we had our life skills classes. Again, clients who couldn't fill out job applications, didn't know how to sign a check, didn't know how to sweep a floor, didn't know how to run an oven, basic things, didn't know how to vacuum, never did anything, never learned anything, can't cook, can't microwave things correctly. Scary stuff. There's John has joined us, as well as Peter. Peter says, don't forget the environmental toxins lowering IQ. Fluoride is one of these toxins, but heavy metals and even microplastics, yes. I can't argue with that. But I mean, you can even get a thick person and teach them how to fill out an envelope. I mean, they just never did it. And they weren't making that connection. One of them figured it out and one didn't, basically. Simple stuff like using a can opener, manual can opener. I've had clients that have never opened a can before. Didn't know how a can opener worked. I mean, seriously, what the hell are we going to do? I fear for these up and coming generations who are coming into the world completely dysfunctional, thinking, having been fooled into believing that they're ready to be on their own. They've been lied to their entire lives by society, by public school, by their parents, by television, by the media. lied to their entire lives, think they're ready, think they know what they're doing. I mean, all kids foolishly think they know everything. I did. I mean, I think most young people, they don't like taking advice, but they can find their own way. I don't see people that are that far gone finding their own way. And that's what Raccoon suggests. They want the young folks dumb and dependent so they can be easily controlled. Indeed. But you also end up with highly emotionally unstable individuals this way, which is probably why they push medications so hard now. Peter says shouldn't consume canned food anyway. Good for long-term survival food storage, but other than that, stay away from canned food. And I see Tuck has joined us. Glad you could make it. And Monkey, yeah, you know what? I was going to bring that up today, I think, because the San Francisco school districts are lowering the standards again for like the 5th or 6th time in the last couple of years. But yeah, I'm going to get to that, Monkey, actually. We're starting off, though, in Los Angeles, and this is EUR Web article. Los Angeles mayor vows accountability after a mob of 1,000 people vandalized downtown. So all of a sudden, they want accountability for violence in California. Got it. Now that California is under a microscope because of how badly things went in the wildfires earlier this year, suddenly they want to fix everything. A chaotic scene unfolded in downtown Los Angeles over Memorial Day weekend as a crowd of up to 1,000 people unleashed a wave of vandalism and violence, prompting a stern response from Mayor Karen Bass. I can't imagine her having a stern response to anything. She's a wet noodle. This woman's like one of those useful idiots. You saw her during the fires, and then she didn't even have anything to say about it for weeks afterwards until she was fully briefed on what to say. As ABC7 reports, the unrest, which erupted early Sunday morning, that's May 25th, of course, at an unauthorized party in an abandoned warehouse near Trinity Street and East Washington Boulevard, left businesses defaced, metro trains graffitied, and police officers under attack. Bass has vowed to ensure those responsible will face justice, calling the destruction unacceptable under any and all circumstances. Yeah, unless it's BLM, right? It was just pandemonium. Everybody just, went berserk, Bass said during a Monday briefing with the Los Angeles Police Department Chief Jim McDonnell. And those people that perpetrated this have to be held accountable to the fullest extent of the law. You never wanted to hold anybody accountable before. But like I said, now California is under a microscope. They've had to reveal that they've lost billions of dollars, wasted billions of dollars. Their programs aren't working. Their homelessness is out of control. Crime is out of control. Insurance companies are leaving the state because of out of control theft and vandalism and destruction of property, especially at businesses. Now you want accountability. Good luck reeling that back in after you've let it go for so long. And it's not just her. It's most of the lawmakers in California. The mayhem began shortly after midnight when the Los Angeles Police Department responded to reports of a large disruptive gathering. The situation quickly spiraled, with vandals tagging local businesses, a police vehicle in both the interior and exterior of 2 Metro A line trains. The transit disruption delayed service for 20 minutes. Though no passengers or operators were injured. As officers attempted to intervene, some in the crowd turned violent, assaulting police, including one officer who required medical attention after being struck in the face with a bottle. Expressing frustration over the lack of immediate arrests, Bass emphasized a zero-tolerance stance. You should have had that attitude when riots were going on before and you let it slip. We cannot do this in our city. And it has to be stopped. We have to be very aggressive about it because we will never send the signal that maybe this is acceptable behavior. Really? Really? Peter wants to know, didn't they lower the standards for the military? They did, but they're in the process of reversing that now under the current administration. And Peter said BLM or Antifa, correct. Legend said, I was curious what led to you moving. Better opportunity, and plus we're deeper in the woods. And Peter said these are the same politicians that bailed out Antifa members after the Summer of Love burning down of cities. Basically, but oh, now zero tolerance. We have to have zero tolerance. I love this, though. I love this. I'll read her quote again because it's completely opposite of everything that we've seen out of California for damn near 20 years. We cannot do this in our city, and it has to be stopped. We have to be what? Very aggressive about it. Because why? Because we will never send the signal that maybe this is acceptable behavior. Why should they believe it isn't acceptable behavior? They've gotten away with it so many times. They've gotten away with defund the police. Weren't you behind that? Weren't you all for, oh, defund the police, oh, decriminalize this and that? Oh, lower standards. Oh, it's a peaceful protest. And now these people, over time, have learned, yeah, we can do whatever the hell we want out there. And now you're saying they can't? Why the flip-flop? Well, because California lawmakers look really bad right now. Especially her, after what happened with the fires, with her breaking her promise. I'll never leave if I'm elected mayor. I'll stay right here in California and work with my constituents. Not an exact quote, but you get the idea. And then look. Now look. She was in Africa. She's been to Africa. She's been to Paris. She's been to DC, running around all over the globe after promising if she was elected, she would never leave the area. She never intended to keep that promise. She's a fraud. Had nothing to say. Couldn't talk because she hadn't been briefed. Didn't know what to say. Lied. Said that she had no idea the fires were that bad. Emails revealed after the fact proved that she did know before she left that they were already losing control. And now look. Now you want to walk that all back because California's, again, under a microscope. Under a microscope, being watched very carefully. We'll jump from Los Angeles or San Francisco, excuse me. Where are we going? Oh, we're still in San Francisco. This is what was being brought up earlier in the comments section. And this is going to be a Daily Mail article. San Francisco's educational chief forced into a humiliating U-turn on woke grading for equity program. This is what Monkey was bringing up earlier in the comments. It's they're not able to push this through yet, so they've postponed it. Okay. San Francisco's education chief was today forced into a humiliating U-turn on a woke new program to lower pass marks in an effort to promote so-called equity. Superintendent of Schools Mariah Sue, or is it Maria? Maria Sue unveiled the new, quote, grading for equity plan last night that would have seen homework and weekly testing scrapped, with students allowed to pass with scores as low as 41, down from the current pass mark of 61. But just hours later on Wednesday afternoon, Sue released a statement following widespread condemnation from across the political spectrum, saying the district would hold off on implementing the move for a year. They're going to postpone it for a year. Quote, or she said rather, at the May 27 Board of Education meeting, we presented a proposal for a professional development opportunity and standards-based grading. There was, what standards? There was no action taken at the meeting. No changes to grading practices have been adopted by the district or Board of Education. We hold every San Francisco USD student to high standards, and our goal is to support student success by prioritizing learning and mastery. It's clear there are a lot of questions, concerns, and misinformation with this proposal. We want to make sure any changes benefit our students. I've decided not to pursue the strategy for next year to ensure we have time to meaningfully engage the community. You're not meaningfully engaging the community. The community doesn't want this, but you're going to push it through anyways. Right now, we need to continue to focus on balancing our budget, stabilizing the district, and rebuilding trust. If you were doing your job in the first place, you wouldn't have to rebuild trust. And you shouldn't have to go back to balancing the budget and stabilizing the district if it was already being done. Incredible. And that's the superintendent, probably a Chinese operative trying to make Californians even dumber. Way too many people from mainland China in government in California. Grading inequity, incredible. We want to make sure any changes benefit our students. I bet you do. And it says here, our goal is to support student success by prioritizing learning and mastery. No, you're just lowering the standard so that it looks good on paper. That's what you're doing. You're lowering the standards so it looks good on paper. You're making it impossible for anyone to fail. Where does a 41 even fall on a grading scale? Where does that even fall? 60 and up is a D. 50 and up is an F. 50 is a fail. How do you end up with 41? 41 is a passing grade. That's a passing grade. Puck suggests if not for federal funds, California would have collapsed years ago. And Julia suggests that California is the fourth largest economy in the world. Without their money, the U.S. would struggle. How does the U.S. get any of their money? And then they insult me. Okay, that's really going to get you far, Julia. If their money gets absorbed into California, they spend any money they make basically on themselves and then lose that money. Story after story we've read here. Story after story that we've read here with California losing billions, missing billions, unaccountable. Almost $30 billion in the last 5 years just on homelessness with zero accountability. They don't know where the money is. No one kept a record, or so they say. $33 billion missing from their unemployment. 34 or 36, if I remember, $billion allegedly hacked by the Chinese government. Another 30 billion in COVID relief funds missing. California is a money pit. And with the amount that they spend, we'd be better off without them. Peter suggests homeschooling is the best way to teach your children. Absolutely. Absolutely. So that's their idea. Lower the standards and hide behind that. And one more before we get to the thumbnail here. If I can get this pulled up. It's going to be a Hill article. Coming right up. Hopefully it doesn't choke. Stop. There's a video feed on it. I'll just stop that. I'll try to share it. It's acting up. Here we go. I think that'll do it. Sometimes it acts a little funny. Sometimes it acts a little funny. This is a Hill article. Cuomo calls for $20 minimum wage for New York City. He's running for mayor. He's going to be running for mayor coming here shortly, because Lord knows that worked out really well for California. And he wants to push that in New York. New York City mayoral campaigns minimum wage to $20 an hour, seeking to build on his progress on the issue from his time as governor of New York. So he wants to go from governor of New York to mayor of New York City. Isn't that a downgrade? Cuomo made the announcement during a rally in which he was joined by multiple labor unions that have backed him. Throughout the campaign, he has regularly touted raising the state's minimum wage to $15 an hour as one of his top achievements as governor. Quote, the best way to combat affordability, the best way is to raise wages, put more money in people's pockets, Cuomo said. Today, we announced we're going to raise the minimum wage to $20 an hour. No, the best way to combat affordability is to not tax the life out of everyone. And the current governor is already under fire for the additional taxes that she's levied against the citizens of New York, making things just harder. Making things just harder overall. The only reason, and this is why the unions are behind this. Lord knows I don't trust unions. I've been in enough of them. You want to give them more money so you can take it from them. That's why you want to raise it. And that falls on these businesses. And a lot of the smaller businesses can't afford to do it. It's a good way to shut down a lot of mom and pop operations. It says here his proposal is to raise the minimum wage to $20 by 2027, what would be a year into his term if he is elected. And people will go for that. People will fall for that. Lucky is here. Glad you could make it today, Lucky. So, I mean, that's just pandering, and a lot of people will fall for that. Oh, I'll get a better minimum wage if he's elected mayor. Yeah, that's cute. And they'll find a way to take it from you. Your union fees will go up because it's a union state. They'll raise taxes on you. They'll get that money back. That's the only reason why they want to give it to you. The former governor said he expects pushback from business people who say raising the minimum wage will slow down the economy, and pundits who say getting his proposal approved will be too difficult politically. But he said both are wrong. Both are wrong. The larger operations, all they have to do is raise prices, so it balances out anyways. You make more money and they take more money. Quote, you know how we know they're wrong? Because we did it before and we're going to do it again, Cuomo said, arguing that the economy improved after he signaled the $15 minimum wage signed the $15 minimum wage into law, giving New York the highest such wage in the country. Things have not improved in New York. Anybody can look at New York at any time and see that there's problems. It's not always the best answer, unfortunately. I mean, yeah, it'd be nice for people to get a little bit more money, but it's not always the best answer. You can't just insist that businesses give people more money. And hope that that's going to help the economy. Often you're helping yourself. You raise taxes. Sometimes companies are forced to raise their prices, and you end up spending whatever extra you might have had. See, Fluke Man has joined us. Puck suggests that, where are we here? There's a little bit of lag. A little bit of lag as I'm trying to get open the article talking about the specific thumbnail here. There we go. Puck says fourth largest economy, has the largest homeless population in the U.S. Talking about California, I imagine. And yeah, I think we're at full on troll position now.
Templeton ETFs.
Oh,
with over 70 ETFs, we have solutions for every market.
There we go.
Helping
that was the ad
build the
popping up.
Portfolios of the future.
Yeah, where's my mods?
Franklin Templeton.
I don't think I have a mod
What's ahead?
on stand right now.
And help investors keep
I'm still choking up here, having a little bit of trouble with the connection, unfortunately, and it's probably because of the ad on the article, and that does happen from time to time, unfortunately.
Senior advisor Elon Musk announcing the Department of Government Efficiency's new target. The next one up, he says, will be for the department. We'll be looking at.
And the article, of course, this is a Fox News article talking about Elon Musk.
Multi-millionaires during their
says Musk officially steps down from DOGE after wrapping work streamlining government. Musk was hired as a special government employee, which only permits 130 days of employment.
I'm trying to connect the dots of how did they.
I know a lot of people thought he was going to be there the whole time, but no.
20 million if they're earning 200.
He wasn't.
A year,
and the time has now expired, and so he has to step aside. Elon Musk is beginning the process of stepping down from his role as head of the Department of Government Efficiency. The Tesla and SpaceX CEO posted on X on Wednesday night that his time as a special government employee is coming to an end, and thanked President Trump for the opportunity to cut down.
He's got a point. Do the math.
No, he has a lot of really important points, and
will only strengthen over time as it becomes a way of life throughout the government. Musk wrote in his post. The White House confirmed to Fox that Musk's post is accurate and offboarding will begin Wednesday night. Musk has been the public face of DOGE since Trump signed an executive order establishing the office on January 20th. DOGE has since ripped through federal government agencies in a quest to identify and end government overspending, corruption, and fraud. He was officially hired as a special government employee, which is a role Congress created in 1962 that allows the executive or legislative branch to hire temporary employees for specific short-term initiatives. Special government employees are permitted to work with the federal government or for the federal government for no more than 130 days in a 360-day period, according to data from the Office of Government Ethics. Musk's 130-day time frame, beginning on Inauguration Day, was set to run dry May 30th. May 30th. And so there it is. And so there it is. And anyway, yeah, I see a lot of scattered comments about our bump troll there. Usually they're not so aggressive. Usually they just drop a comment and disappear. Apologize for that. Hiedo said she's been to the Cuba communist militant training camps. Could be. Could be. The thing of it is, usually I'll just let people speak their mind. But when they start getting nasty or aggressive about it, then it's time to push them on. It's time to push them on. I don't know if I can make anybody a mod through StreamYard, though. Jane wants to know, how's the new home, and did I find the other cats yet? The other cats are okay. The ones that are missing are still missing. Still missing. Couple of alleged sightings, but no luck so far. No luck so far. Everything else has been fine. Everything else has been fine. Yeah, I don't think I can make anybody a mod in or through StreamYard. It would have to be directly through YouTube. It would have to be directly through YouTube, unfortunately. But yeah, normally I let people speak their minds, but when it gets to the point where they're disrupting the other viewers, it's too much. It's too much, and I'll have to cut them loose. But, you know, like I said, people are entitled to their opinion, which is basically what this is. And it's even in the title. You know, I'm reading the news articles. I'll tell you what I think. I'll share that with some of the people in the comments. They can agree or not. But whatever. Whatever. But this is, you know, a lot of people, again, were under the impression that Elon was going to stay there for the entire ride. And no, there was a set time by which he would be stepping aside and letting somebody else run the operation. It was temporary. And time's up. Time is up. Although I'm sure you will still be hearing from him time and again. Time and again. So we shift gears here. This is the stupid news. Stupid news. And I've always had an issue with this, and I'll explain why. I'll explain why. And it has to do with Walmart. Walmart getting in trouble for sales of toy guns. Okay. And this is a Washington Examiner article. It says Walmart fined for violating New York toy gun law, right? So New York is penalizing Walmart for allowing third-party resellers, because I don't know if you go to Walmart's website specifically, if you go to their website, they do have a third-party system similar to Amazon, okay, where other resellers can sell products through their site. All right. And that's what they're talking about. It said selling such toys violates New York's law, inspired by police encounters that have resulted in fatalities because the guns, though harmless, looked like actual firearms. New York Attorney General Letitia James announced Tuesday Walmart will pay a small fine for its actions. Toy guns sold in the state must be made in bright colors or made entirely of transparent or translucent materials, with businesses subject to a fine of $1,000 per violation. Realistic-looking toy guns can put communities in serious danger, and that is why they are banned in New York, James said in a statement. Walmart failed to prevent its third-party sellers from selling realistic-looking toy guns to New York addresses, violating our laws and putting people at risk. The ban on realistic-looking toy guns is meant to keep New Yorkers safe, and my office will not hesitate to hold any business that violates the law accountable. All right, now, it says Walmart shipped at least 9 realistic-looking toy guns sold by third-party sellers to New York City, Westchester County, and Western New York, according to James's office. It found that consumers purchased at least 46 imitation weapons that violate the law between March 2020 and November 2023. That's really not very much at all. The law went into effect many, many years ago. Some of you might be familiar with this. Peter says anyone can paint the toy guns. Pathetic law. Yeah. it went into effect in the late 80s, actually. I think if I remember correctly, off the top of my head, it was like 1986 or 1987, where they said that it either had to be brightly colored, transparent, or have a big orange tip on it. Okay. No, so because before that, toy makers used to make very realistic toy guns. You might remember the cap guns that were produced, especially in the 50s, 60s, and 70s when Westerns were still really popular. I mean, you could even, they even had revolvers with toy bullets that you could load in them. And they were metal. All right. They looked and felt real. And sometimes someone who was going to commit a crime, okay, someone who's going to commit a crime and didn't really actually want to hurt anybody would use a toy gun instead. Okay. And so the ban came into effect. Actually, if I remember how it started, it was in California. So if I'm wrong about this, you can tell me in the comments section. It was in California. I think it was California. And it was on the air, a newscaster, okay, was reading the news, and someone ran up on him and put a gun to him live and forced him to read a statement. And when they apprehended the guy, the gun was fake. It was a toy gun. And that's when the whole thing started with, too many people are running around with these toy guns, and they pretended that the reason, and this is what she actually said, the reason is because people with a toy gun will get accidentally shot. What you mean is law enforcement officers panic and fire before they know what's going on and shoot somebody with a toy gun. That's what happened. But if I remember correctly, it was because of the on-air reading incident where the guy had a toy gun that triggered all of that. But it doesn't change anything. Quite frankly, if somebody's going to try to fake a robbery, I'd rather they had a toy gun, because now you force them to have to use a real one, haven't you? It's really kind of stupid. It's really kind of stupid. Nature Nerd wants to know how much money do cities make from fines. More than they deserve. And there you go. John says ban all the things. Yeah, ban everything. Ban everything. We can all live in a bubble. Like Mork. There's an episode of Mork. You remember Mork and Mindy? There's an episode where Mork got really afraid of everything. And so he built a bubble enclosure for himself in the middle of Mindy's living room and said that he was going to stay in there for the rest of his life. Peter wants to know, wasn't New York the first to ban body armor? It could be. I would think it was, I thought it was Chicago, but you might be right. You might be right. Luke Man wants to know what's stopping people from painting the guns black. And I have also seen where people have painted real guns in multicolors and made it look like a toy. Made it look like a toy. It looks like a damn Nerf gun or something. Nature Nerd wants to know if an MRI machine could stop a bullet. I'm not sure, actually. I know what you mean, though, because of the magnetic field. But I'm not sure if it would. I think a pool table would, after lugging that thing yesterday. As I had mentioned yesterday, I was late getting on the air because I was helping to move a pool table. Damn thing is 698 pounds. And the tabletop underneath the under the felt, it's like, I swear, 3 inches of vinyl. I bet you could, if you had the strength to tip a pool table over, you could probably hide behind it and it would absorb a few bullets for you. Anyways, we're going to jump to Australia now. GB News. I don't know if you heard this. Trans row erupts in Australia as women's rights campaigner demands ban for a netball star. Women's rights campaigner Sal Grover has called for the transgender athlete Manawa Orundi to be immediately excluded from women's netball in Melbourne. Grover, who founded the women's only social media platform Giggle for Girls, claims Aruni is putting players at risks and undermining the female sport. Her comments come after Melton South Netball Club threatened to boycott matches against Melton Central, where Aruni plays. The controversy has intensified since Aruni, a former elite men's netballer who then transitioned, was named best on ground in Division 1 Grand Final. And this is Maruni. Good God. There he is in his dress. My God. That's a big dude. I want to see the stats on this person. Players have cited safety concerns as the primary reason for opposing Oruni's participation. Melton South players have been vocal about their safety concerns when competing against Aruni. Coordinator Melissa Dawson said one of the players is 6 foot something. It's ridiculous. Netball Victoria needs to put the safety of biological females first. I want to see the full stats on how big this guy is. That's what I want to see. And that's gotten to be a big problem in Australia. If you remember, last year we read the story about the one soccer team, girls soccer team, that had 5 trans athletes on it that swept their finals, but left a lot of injuries behind, including several broken bones. So yeah, it is a big safety concern, I can imagine. I want to know what the stats are on this person. Look at the neck on this guy. Oh my God, maybe I can look it up. Maybe I can look it up and find out what the stats are. There's got to be, and it could just be the angle of the camera. Maybe. I'm going to look it up. Six foot tall. That's not too bad. And excuse me, I don't see anything about a weight, but apparently this person is 6 foot. It looks bigger to me. Still, safety concerns. Lucky says that's a lot of women. Okay. Oh my God. Peter says, I'm against these men competing, but netball is a non-contact sport. Is it? I don't know what netball is. I'll just be honest. It's like pickleball. Pickleball. What the hell is that? I had to find out what the hell pickleball was. I don't know what netball is either. I don't know what netball is either. So whatever. But yeah, if there are safety concerns, I don't like that. You know how it is, ladies and gentlemen. We live in strange times. We live in very strange times. Strange times indeed. Now, this is an article related to something that someone suggested to me in the comments section, because you know how I go on and on about the electric vehicles and how there are fleets of them mothballed all across the country. We've read the articles. I've read the articles. where you have, like, especially transit buses and school buses, that they can't function. They don't work. And so they get warehoused and they just sit there and rot because they can't even repair the damn things. And we saw this also with the electric snow plows in New York. They had that fleet of electric snow plows. Guess what? They're not strong enough to push the snow. And then the batteries fail because it's too cold. So they can't use them. And these vehicles often cost anywhere from 3 to 5 times as much as a diesel-powered alternative. Okay? And they put me on to this because apparently they're having the same problem with electric-powered garbage trucks. Garbage trucks. And this is a WPXI Pittsburgh local article. It's not an old article either. This is only a week old. Okay, so this has recently happened. Channel 11 investigates electric recycling trucks purchased by Pittsburgh, still not roadworthy. 11 investigates found out that the brand new electric recycling trucks purchased by the city of Pittsburgh had been sitting at a dealership for nearly a year. With a broken and aging refuge fleet, the city is in desperate need of new trucks. So what's the holdup? Why haven't they been put to use? Chief Investigator Rick Earl got a tip about this, found the trucks, and then went to city officials. Earl said the city officials admitted it's an ambitious project, as the trucks are the first fully electric heavy-duty trucks they purchased. While city officials expect some hiccups, they never imagined there would be so many problems and so many delays. The city purchased 8 electric recycling trucks for $5 million 3 years ago, using an EPA grant and American American Rescue Funds, both taxpayer dollars. The battery-powered trucks will replace 8 of the 12 diesel fuel recycling trucks. The city also spent $1 million on charging stations, but the trucks are still sitting at the dealership and the charging stations are empty. It says they've been working with the manufacturers since the bids went out August of 2022. So we're pushing on 3 years now. It's a long time and it's extremely frustrating. A letter obtained by Channel 11 investigates from the cities to the vendor Trans Edge Truck Centers cited a dozen potential problems, among them the transmission slips into neutral at stop signs, steering is inconsistent, and the battery charge falls below 10% after an hour of driving. Oh my God. Well, I mean, how much weight does a dump truck or garbage truck carry? Seriously? Seriously. These things don't work. It's not a good alternative. And this is why I talk about it. If it was a viable alternative, I would have nothing to say. I would have nothing to say about it. But they're not viable alternatives because they don't work. They fail. It slips into neutral at stop signs? Is that what it said? You know how dangerous that is with a vehicle that heavy? And heavier because it's got batteries instead of fuel. So this has cost them over $6 million. They spent $5 million on 8 trucks, which is already, like, at least as I pointed out, they often cost 3 to 5 times the diesel counterpart. $1 million on a charging station, and then however much it's cost for retrofitting, which hasn't worked. What's the problem? Again, let's see. Transmission slips into neutral at stop signs. Steering is inconsistent, so it doesn't stay centered. And the battery charge falls to 10% after an hour, especially driving with wipers or defrost or lights on. They don't meet up to city standards. I think not. I think not. You're not going to these 8 trucks. They're not going to come into service. They're not going to come into service because you can't fix that. I'm surprised the company that made them is even still in business, because a lot of these companies have folded up. A lot of these companies have folded. And then you try to get something fixed. You try to get something fixed. Like I forget which state it was with the transit buses with the faulty doors. And the doors are no longer made. They can't replace them. They can't replace them. They can't get the parts. So they've been dicking around for 3 years trying to retrofit these dump trucks to get them to work, or these garbage trucks, and they don't. But they got their money. They got their money, though, didn't they? And the city's stuck with them. And that's taxpayer money wasted. Like the snow plows, like the school buses, like the transit buses, all those school buses that got stranded in New York, the electric ones, all the electric vehicles. Who remembers last winter in Illinois? Thousands of electric cars stranded all over the state. Couldn't even charge them. Couldn't even charge them. But yeah, this is another one to add to the list. This is just stupid. That's virtue signaling on the part of the state, or the city of Philadelphia specifically. Correct? Pittsburgh, excuse me, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, not Philadelphia, Pittsburgh. Virtue signaling on the part of the city. Hey, look at us. We got electric garbage trucks that are gonna be picking up the recycling bins. And guess what? They don't work. And you wasted tax dollars to do that. What are you going to do with these things? They're paperweights. They're freaking paperweights, gigantic paperweights. And our tax money is paying for this virtue signaling. It's such a waste. Such a waste. And that's the kind of stuff that needs to stop. That's the kind of stuff that needs to stop in this country. All across the Western world, we're seeing that. Terrible waste. Again, if it worked, I'd have nothing to say, but it doesn't. You can't demonstrate that these things work properly. They fail. I've made the joke about the electric mail delivery, because where I was before, I lived on a hill, and if it was the electric truck, they couldn't get up the hill. They'd have to park down there and walk up. But the regular diesel-powered truck can easily get up the hill. But they don't even want to try. The electric Amazon van, too, won't go up the hill. Can't make it. It's too steep. Doesn't have the power. Doesn't have the power to get up the hill. And that should tell you something. If it can't do the job, you don't need it until it can. Maybe someday they'll get it worked out. But someday isn't now, and you can't force it to work. You can't just keep forcing us to accept things that don't work. It's just a waste of money. It's a waste of money that could be better spent. Taking a quick look at the U.S. debt clock here. U.S. debt clock has DOGE currently at $487 billion in projected savings, and counting. It might hit 488 by this evening. And that means a projected, again, savings per taxpayer of $4,336 respectively. So there we are. And we made it through the whole hour. I didn't get kicked off. Well, it was the cable went out yesterday, which is why it was only 30 minutes long. Cable went out. JD says Elon had to turn heel on MAGA crowd so liberals will go back to buying his janky cars. No, he only had a 130-day tenure set up as a special government employee. That's why he's leaving DOGE, but DOGE will continue to function. Peter wants to know where's the golden Pentagon audit. Pentagon, they're just starting to get their teeth into, but the Fort Knox audit, man, they are fighting that tooth and nail. But I'm just waiting for it. I've talked about the Fort Knox thing at length because no one has really ever seen what's in there. There's only been a couple of times where people have been allowed to go inside and they didn't really show them anything. But yeah, I've talked about that at length. I'm very suspicious of Fort Knox because the New York Gold Suppository will let you in. Why won't Fort Knox do it? It's safer. Anyway, with that, we are at the top of the hour. So I'll go ahead and start signing off. Again, you are listening to and or watching Coffee Talk, and you can find the live portion Monday through Friday at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on YouTube on Coffee Talk. And I'll put the moniker up there really quickly because, as I've pointed out, I'm also on Prepper University. But as of the first week of June, I will only be putting the podcast on Coffee Talk. So if you're watching on Prepper University, please do join us there so that you won't miss out. You can find me on X at Coffee Talk Chat. You can find me on fistfulofradio.com, podcasting out of Atlanta. So thank you, everyone, for joining us here today. As always, hope you got something out of the conversation, and we will catch you again tomorrow.